Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is First Person Tutor speaking, the voice of Boss Man Teaching, once again making abundant tangible habits with plenty of intentional notes to self for ELO. So, in short, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is First Person Tutor speaking, the voice of Boss Man Teaching, and we're going to go through math with points for ELO. And of course, that means making abundant tangible habits with plenty of intentional notes to self. Right? No! Ladies and gentlemen, I was struggling to find a meaningful opening as black that would suit my play my style of play and would allow me to have the freedom to essentially develop my pieces, have everything protected, but at the same time frustrate my opponent into, trying to solve the puzzle that I've been creating for them, right? So I feel like using the French defense came to my defense. Once again, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is First Person Tutor speaking, the voice of Boss Man Teaching, making abundant tangible habits with plenty of intentional notes to self. Now we're going to go through this game that I just played, right? I used the French defense, they call it the Steinitz attack, right? Naturally, most people go with the E2 to E4. This is the first thing you do. You respond with E7, E6. Right? So from now on, whoever I'm playing, once I'm playing as black, this is exactly what I do. Right? And this is something that I would do as well. If I was playing as white, this is what I would do. This would frustrate your opponent because they want to put the G8 knight onto F6. And of course, this move is preventative, right? And that's a lot of what happens when you're playing a game of chess, right? So when you see moves like H2 to H3, even moves like A7, A6, then B7, B5, those moves stop the bishop from going to C4, so you have to think about why your opponent is making the moves they're making, right? But I circumvent it. And this is why, you see, knights can change trajectory at the last second. So when people make the argument that the knight is inferior to the bishop, I have to disagree with that. And it doesn't matter what level you are. You could be Magnus Carlsen himself. I'm going to disagree with anybody that says that the bishop is outright better than the knight. Because for one, if you say, well, but the bishops can pin the knight. Yeah, but if you're a strong player, you can break the pin and free the knight. The knight can be free right after you break the pin. It's very easy to break a pin if you know, okay, you don't have to castle. You can literally manufacture the castle if you want. So therefore, you can lose the right to castle and still create one if you're skillful enough. So therefore, yeah, that argument doesn't hold up. Furthermore, bishops are not freed until pawns move. Whereas a knight can jump over the pawn wall. Knights are escape artists by nature. If there was a DC character that is modeled or the knight was modeled after, there's a character that dates Big Barda. His name is Scott Free. Right? Scott Free. Yeah? An escape artist. That is what the knight is. Anyhow, we need to continue with this game, right? Now, what I love about this is that my knight is supporting my other knight, right? So you have the knight on B8 supporting my knight on on c6. Let's go. Look at that. And this is the beauty of it, right? When you have the knights together like this, it poses a lot of questions for your opponent because they're thinking, this don't make any sense, right? If you do something that makes sense to you but not to your opponent, you have the psychological advantage, right? Now, what I did here was I gave myself the option of castling queen side or king side. And this is one of the most amazing things you can do. You can give your opponent the impression that you want to castle queen side, have them focus on destroying it, right? And then after they destroy your queen side castle, you just castle king side. And just like that, now they're left with this. So I did all of that for nothing. Oh yeah, you're going to see how this happened. Didn't want the bishop there. Very good. Now I could have captured with the pawn here, but you know, I made up my mind. All right. Now what am I gonna do with this knight? You know, pawns are powerful. They bully pieces around. They bully the queen. They bully the knight. They bully the bishops. Pawns are not to be trifled with, right? I would argue that pawns are the most powerful piece on the board. Ooh, look at that. I know why I did this. Because your opponent is going to think you're moving back. So if you're moving back, this is, there's no progression here. What kind of progression is this? You're going back? Okay. So he captures, not realizing. Ah, this is why the knight cannot be trifled with. Because see, you thought, look at this, look at this. Look at what just happened. I went here. You did that. Look at that. You had no way of knowing that that's what I was going to do. Yeah? 3 defenders versus just 2 attackers. 3 versus 2, I win. In the game of overloading, my 3 versus you 2, I win. Look at this. See? Oh, you think it's 2 for 2? No. It's actually 2 versus 1. Right? Now, looking at this, he's thinking, well, I have the advantage now because I dismantle your queenside castling. So he goes here. Now, here's what makes this brilliant, right? I recognize this attack. And my bishop on a6 is preventing him from castling kingside. So what do? I say, well, let me do this. Let me, as they say, better safe than sorry. I know this attack. So I know the queen wants to go on h5. Because I know this, I'm not going to allow it. Ah, but he goes very close. No, I decided I'm going to defend both of my pawns. That's what I did. Didn't like this very much, but I don't want that pawn, you know, governing g7 and e7. I didn't want that. Very good tempo, but not really a threat. Not worried about it. All right, now you're trying to get a knight into the game. You're not really, I mean, sure, you could have probably pushed c3 to c4, maybe in an attempt to block me temporarily so that you could actually castle, maybe. But let's see. So now I decide, hey, you know, riddle me this, riddle me that. Is it possible for you to knock my castle flat? Well, yeah, no. You did not stop my castle. Mind you, I see the beauty about him having the knight right here. The knight being here prevents me from using my attack on the F2 pawn. Yeah? Now he's giving me this rook. I was very confused about this. I mean, what does it... I mean, this sacrifice doesn't really work. Right? No, this would have made sense if he had captured my bishop. If he captured my bishop, this move makes sense. Because then if you capture my bishop, I take, you get to castle because you're removing the piece that's preventing you from castling. That's the move that I thought he was going to make. But this is a blunder. This is just a blunder. Like, what's actually happening here? You know, the rook being there does not help your position. So, I just kick away the knight. Okay. Now we have something interesting. Now, this is a distraction. Because you see, now there's overloading on my bishop on the right hand side. But I'm not worried about that. I remove the defender. Because after all, checkmate is more important. So yeah, I was left with a puzzle to solve here. I mean, if I try to put my bishop on d3, it just loses. You know, I'd just be sacrificing the bishop for nothing, right? So no, not a good idea. So where do I go? What was my next move? All right. Yeah. Yeah. I know why. I wanted to defend the e6 pawn. Just in case he took the knight and captured it, he would pin his own piece even at the you know. Because ultimately, let's say he captures it, I would move my king out of the way so that even when I capture the knight on the next turn, he would just be capturing the bishop with no check in sight, right? So, and a lot is happening here because my knight is defending my rook. So if the rooks decide to trade, it's just an equal trade, right? So I'm attacking and defending at the same time. A lot is happening right now. Just, you know, the rooks are in the Mexican standoff, right? Staring each other down, right? If he takes, I can just recapture, right? And my bishop on c8 is defending e6. And of course, I didn't want to move my f8 rook away from the f file completely. So let's see what happened next. Big blunder. Big blunder. I was not expecting this. Yeah, the capture was done in the wrong order. I mean, even though he would have pinned his knight, that was the superior move compared to just trying to capture the queen. That's just kind of crazy. All right, so we did that. I ignore that, obviously. Create something of a, you know, this normally would have been checkmate, right? But of course, there's a bishop on g5. So, if it can be stopped, the game continues. Now, where do we go from here? What did I do? Right. Yeah, I figured since one checkmating pattern didn't work, I switched. Right? I switched. Now, at this point, my opponent just, yeah, he just, I guess, allowed the timer to run out and resigned. So, pretty much, yeah, abandoned. So, once again, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This has been First Person Tutor speaking, the voice of Bossman Teaching. And I'm looking forward to giving you a lot of, you know, a lot of videos, a lot of new content for First Person Tutor, and we still learn. Yeah, there's a lot. So Look out for that.